Hello and welcome to today's webinar from Esendex. 5 great reasons utility providers need to embrace mobile messaging. So just before we get started, just a quick word on today's speakers and Esendex and the utility sector. First of all, you'll be hearing from myself. My name is Warren Delay and I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at Esendex. And you'll also be hearing from Amy Lomax, who's the Senior Account Manager for the utility sector. So Esendex have been providing communication solutions to the utility sector for over 14 years now. We currently have 15 customers in the utility sector, including brands from the big 6 energy providers and also challenger brands as well. We've provided multiple solutions for different applications ranging from customer services and also collections automations. And we've also been recognised for our efforts with multiple industry awards, including being the winner of the 2017 Best Credits and Collections Technology Award. So what is it that we're going to be discussing today? So as I've mentioned already, I'll be talking you through the 5 reasons why we think a mobile messaging strategy is going to suit in the utility sector, and also comparing the communication channels that we have against legacy channels like post and outbound calling, and identifying the distinct advantages that a mobile messaging strategy has over those. Amy will then take us through the communication channels that are available, so things like SMS, outbound and inbound voice technologies, and also what's on the horizon, what can utility companies look forward to adopting to have better conversations with their customers. So we'll also be looking at multi-channel messaging as well, where we use a combination of our technologies to give us the highest level of engagement with customers as possible. So how do things stand right now? What's the current state of play with customer communications in the utility sector? Well, utility providers aren't keeping up with expectations of their customers from a communications perspective. Changing demographics mean that communication preferences have changed dramatically. We'll talk about this in more detail on the next slide, but basically a one-size-fits-all approach where utility providers use things like postal communications isn't going to really cut the mustard anymore. Providers have to think a little bit more tactically and talk to customers in a way which they prefer. Using those paper-based communications is also slow and they're often easily ignored. If we look at how long it takes to deliver something like an SMS, that's instantaneous, whereas a letter can take days. Digital communications also have a much higher open rate, with something like SMS having 95% open rate compared with 57.1% for direct mail. Moving on to something like agent-based phone calls, these can often come at inconvenient times for the customer and will often go unanswered, and it's an expensive way of trying to engage with customers. And on the flip side of telephone communications, if we have the customer initiating the phone call and calling into the provider, it can often result in long wait times. In some cases, according to a recent study, customers can be waiting for up to 28 minutes to be put through to an agent, which is obviously providing a bad experience to the customer. And as I've just mentioned, letters and phone calls are really expensive for utility providers to engage with their customers. And you can just see a statistic on the right hand side of the screen there. 70% of expenditure from call centres is actually spent on their agents. You know, if we are able to free up a little bit of that resource and free up our agents' time, they'll be able to focus on much more complex tasks. So let's now move on to some of the reasons why we think utility providers should be adopting a mobile messaging strategy. And the first reason is it's actually what your customers want. A communication strategy should be focused on contacting the right customer at the right time and also through the right channel. While today's technology is making communications easier and cheaper, it's important to use the channel that suits the customer's preferences and takes into account how they prefer to engage. And from the utility provider's perspective as well, it's important to use the right channel to maximise the engagement levels and also achieve the right outcome that you're looking for. So just to back this up with some statistics, a recent study found that only 39% of utility customers actually prefer letters as their primary communication channel, and that 54% of utility customers now prefer digital communication channels like SMS and also landing page platforms, which we'll talk about later on in the presentation. But only 33% of utility customers actually recall receiving a digital communication channel from their utility provider. So as we've already mentioned, it's going to be really important to consider different demographics and how they prefer to engage with utility providers. One great example of this is millennials, who are seen as a key driver for growth over the next decade in the utility sector. Millennials spend on average about 14.5 hours a week on their mobile devices already, so this is going to be a really great place to target if utility providers are looking to boost their engagement with this demographic and have more successful conversations. Millennials also prefer the convenience of text-based communications over agent-based call interactions. In fact, a recent study found that 75% of millennials actually prefer text-based comms over speaking with an agent. Our second reason for adopting a mobile messaging strategy is that it's much more cost-effective. We've just got a few examples here to illustrate this. So, based on an example send of 10,000 communications, the cost to do this through post would be about £5,000 when we take into account things like admin, stationery and postage cost. Whereas the same communication through SMS would only cost £380. You can see from these figures as well on screen that there is a much higher engagement level through SMS, and as a result of that, the cost per response is also much lower through SMS. Digital communications also have big cost advantages over live agent chats. In a study conducted by us, we found that the average live agent call would cost about £3.87, which is versus £3 for a digital live chat technology, or just 67p for an IVR interaction. And the final example to talk about we have here is a multi-channel solution, which uses a combination of communication channels to have successful engagements. We actually recently worked with one of the big 6 energy providers to find a solution in low debt collections. Previously, a postal strategy was in place, but after implementing a digital mobile focus strategy, the cost to send reminders through SMS was 16% of that original cost. Email just 1%, and an automated voice interaction was 50% of the cost of sending a letter. Big savings can also be had from a collections point of view too, with the cost of taking a payment via the Esendex multi-channel strategy costing 30% of the cost of taking a payment via a phone call with an agent. Reason 3 is that more messages will be read and converted with some mobile messaging channels. Providing the convenience of digital messaging to customers clearly has an effect when we take a look at the figures on screen. While direct mail has a much higher open rate than email, which has suffered from an engagement view because of spammy emails, it still trails way behind SMS, which hasn't suffered from the same issue. Both email and SMS have obvious user response time advantages when we consider how long postal communications take, but only SMS has a higher conversion rate than direct mail at 32%, compared with 5.1% for post. Other advantages that mobile messaging has over direct mail is that it provides a greater potential for message personalisation. We can use combination of automatic decision engines and your existing data to make every single message unique and increase your chances of a successful outcome. Mobile messages also make it possible to control when your customers actually receive their messages. So for example, for urgent payment reminders, it might be worth considering sending the reminder during non-working hours when they're more likely to read the message and make a payment. Moving on to reason 4. For collection strategies, mobile messaging is also a proven method of collecting more debt in an easier way. As mentioned earlier, we've recently worked with one of the big 6 energy providers to automate the way they collect small debt through a multi-channel strategy. By using the provider's data and analysing the contact information that was available for each customer, routes to best contact each individual customer were designed, which in turn increased conversions. Once the new system was implemented, the provider found that 19% of customers made a payment, which compared with 4% via their previous system represented a significant improvement. Reason 5. A common incorrect assumption that we hear when we deal with new customers is that old legacy systems have to be done away with when we're implementing a new mobile messaging strategy. It doesn't, and it shouldn't really. So far in this webinar, we've identified some of the benefits of mobile versus things like direct mail, but sending letters is still going to form an integral part of a successful communication strategy when dealing with some demographics. As we mentioned earlier, 39% of utility customers still prefer post. These customers' preferences still have to be respected. With this in mind, we've built platforms and tools which can be used in tandem with existing systems, which also provide ease of implementation, service disruption minimization, and also integration benefits. Direct mail can also be used as a fail-safe. So for example, if a customer is showing that they prefer receiving letters through their engagement rates, We can still send them a cheaper alternative like SMS, but if that fails to land, then we can send letters as a backup. Okay, so we've taken a look at the reasons to make the switch to mobile messaging. I'll now pass you over to Amy, who will talk us through some of the options that are available.
Thanks, Warren. Okay, so I'm going to run through some of the various options we have and the solutions we have available that will help with the switch to a more digital and mobile-focused communication strategy. So first up is mobile journeys. So the aim of a mobile journey is to get a customer from point A to point B in the easiest way possible. They are specifically designed for a mobile phone, which our customers always have with them. So essentially they'll be guided through a process. So this could range from marketing to making a payment, to form filling, data capture, or even appointment arranging. The journeys are completely customisable and they remove the distraction of traditional websites and therefore provide higher conversion rates. Another major win for the provider is that they can digitally serve their customers via this channel, so the customer doesn't even need to have an app on their smartphone. We can also use these solutions to send letters digitally. So our mobile letters mobile journey essentially gives the option to a customer for them to download important documents onto their mobile phone locally via a secure PDF. Some of our customers have already had great success with our mobile letters solution. One customer in particular has already made over a 55% saving on their print cost. We also are able to provide you with an audit trail, date and time stamp of the journey. So we can tell you that your customers have received the communication and downloaded that letter, which you can't do with traditional methods such as post. This also means they have a digital copy on their smartphone, which is usually a lot more convenient than having paper copies everywhere. Following on from our mobile journeys, we have email and SMS. So these are some of the most traditional outbound channels and can be used in various different ways. So SMS and email will always play an important part in a self-service customer strategy for the utility sector. Both channels are trackable and highly engaging, which makes them ideal for providing the links to online portals and websites where customers can then access customer service tools. So example applications will include SMS. So we know that all SMS get read. Nobody ever receives a text message and doesn't read it. It pops up there on your phone for you to see. So SMS is perfect for appointment reminders. So that engineer visit, that smart meter appointment, why not send it via an SMS? We can also send links to online portals and mobile journeys, so whether that's for payments, for meter reading, whether it's to arrange an engineer visit. We can also use SMS to send service interruption notifications. We can then send the same via email, but with SMS being more in the forefront of people's minds, we can generally look to use email as a fallback. So if a text message is undelivered for whatever reason, we can fall back to email and make sure the customer's still getting that message. By using our intelligent workflows, both email and SMS reminders can be automated to ensure that you're maximising your contact channels with your customers. Moving on from SMS and email, we now have RCS and SMS landing pages. So RCS represents the next evolution of SMS, and it will allow many previously manual customer service interactions to be automated within a customer's native messaging app, therefore giving businesses the power to send richer content to their customers. By bringing enhanced features to the customer's default messaging applications, businesses can engage better, increase conversions, and build stronger relationships. Many of the previously manual processes undertaken by utility providers can now be automated in a rich and intelligent way by using RCS. This means that providers can expect to reduce the strain on their in-house resources and also provide more convenient tools for customers to access services. Utility providers can also reassure customers that they're speaking with an official brand by gaining verified sender status that will display on the customer's mobile phone. Applications for this include collecting meter readings, providing tariff selection facilities, a chat-style customer service, along with bill payments and frequently asked questions. We also have a range of voice solutions. So these are automated and work on an inbound and outbound basis. IVR systems are a sophisticated telephony menu system which can use both speech recognition and touch tone to carry out a variety of customer service tasks. IVR systems are a great way for call centres to automate customer interactions and also call routing. The way they work is simple. The customer calls in and is then presented with a series of automated options to select from using their landline or mobile telephone keypad. Once a selection has been made, further options can be presented and selected from until the relevant area of the business has been reached. The advantage of IVRs is that they provide round-the-clock availability, allowing the customer to self-serve when it suits them. Applications where an IVR can be used are making a payment, arranging engineer appointments, or providing a meter reading. IVRs make the cost to serve much more efficient for the provider compared to live agent calls that have an average cost of £3.87 and live chat, which is an average £3 per session. IVRs represent significant cost savings where the average session costs around 65p. Now we'll take a look at multi-channel and how it can be made easy. So a multi-channel strategy uses the various options we've already run through. So this allows organisations to build their contact strategy using various digital channels, including IVRs, mobile journeys, SMS and email. This means the customer is then able to interact with the provider using their channel of choice, which will aid in a successful outcome for the customer. Some of the benefits that this gives are added convenience, rapid ROI, the ability to track success, higher engagement rates, action-triggered messages, and increased message context. Our intelligent multi-channel solutions are a perfect way to gather meter readings from your customers. All we need is your customer data. So you would supply that to us. We would then put that through our decision engine, which we would build with you. From here, we would decide which channel to use to contact the customer. So this could be via SMS or via email, or we could use RCS and outbound voice. From these channels, we can push the customer towards using an IVR, a mobile journey, or even a web portal to give us that response back. Once we have the response, we'll collect it and provide it back to you in a format that you can use and update your system with. There's many long-term gains for going digital. For utility providers, this means a reduced reliance on call centres and direct mail. It also means that previously manual customer service interactions can be automated, which results in a reduced cost to serve and quicker delivery. For the customers themselves, it gives them access to customer service tools at any time and any place. They also get reduced waiting times and better access to important information. This provides a better overall customer experience and gives multiple routes to better that customer service.
Thanks, Amy. So that brings today's webinar to an end. We hope you found it useful. If you do have any questions or you'd like to speak to us further, please send your questions into amy.lomax@esendex.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.